Hello and welcome back to the BattleRoom. My name is Colin, and today we got ourselves a good old-fashioned tournament breakdown. So recently there was a tournament in Europe, and I just want to go over the teams and talk about what we saw, what the meta trends are, what to expect going forward, everything that could be possibly explored from my brain in regards to this tournament. So I thought we'd look over the day 2 teams. I'm kind of good. We could probably just start, honestly, at the 10 and 4s. I think that's a pretty, obviously, 9 and 5 is respectable, 2, of course, but I figured we'll just arbitrarily start with the 10 and 4s. Okay, well, right off the bat, we can talk about Gouging Fire. So this type of team is very, very popular. The Gouging Fire let's just call it the Gouging Fire team. It's the Gouging Fire team. So basically what makes it so good is that you're able to run Gouging Fire next to King Gambit. Gouging Fire hates Intimidate. King Gambit loves it instantly. It just works, right? It's genius. It's just so smart. So usually those are the 2 core Pokemon. Obviously we have Fluttermane and Ivy Cudgel Guy because those are super broken and the best Pokemon in the game, so you usually start with there. And then you kind of just improv the last 2. It's kind of whatever you want. This team has Chiampao and Mungus. I've seen Rillaboom. I don't remember what else I've seen. Oh my god, wait, is that a Venusaur? I'm getting a little sidetracked. I just saw a Venusaur there, but... So this team usually just is built around setting up howls for all your physical attackers, and then you have Fluttermane as your special attacker, just round things out. It's a fantastic team. It's just amazing. This was the bottom 10 and 4 finisher. Obviously still pretty good. 60 CP and 60 CP. That's all they really got. They didn't get money. They probably got packs. Wow, Heatran. Let's take a little peep at this team. This team's crazy. So it's kind of just like a Farigiraf style team, but it just randomly has a Heatran. Okay, these kind of teams make sense. It has the really strong Trick Room mode, I guess, with Heatran as a sweeper. And then you obviously have this annoying super fast Fluttermane paired with usually Urshifu Dark, but it also pairs extremely well with Ogerpon. Ogerpon pairs well with Farigiraf. It's just a pretty godlike core. Okay, I kind of like their team. The Heatran's neat. It's different. It's usually there's an Ursula and a Blood Moon, but yeah, this team is still good, still fire. Okay, we've got, I believe this was a Casty's team or something very similar to Casty's team from the tournament prior. But this team is like really just like balanced. Like you have just really good Pokemon. You have a Fire, Water, Grass core kind of, I guess. And then you have Lando Eye, who's really annoying and broken. And then you pair it with an Intimidate Pokemon, and you have Raging Bolt to kind of round things out and give you a little bit more reach, especially into those Tailwind teams. Because having Tailwind, having priority is really broken, and having Fluttermane, Urshifu, and Raging Bolt is enough to beat most Tailwind teams. So it just kind of makes a lot of sense. I really like it. We got some size spam stuff. There's the team. This team's a little different. This one's this is the team that Edu used. Toller stole and won a regional with, and then Edu used again. It's getting really metagamey, like in terms of how far this team is going. But this is like we'll call it the Edu team. This team, I've talked about it a little bit before in my previous video, which you should go check out. But I think what makes this team so disgustingly good is that you give a good player options. You have a awesome Tailwind sweeping mode with like all these guys. You have this awesome fake out plus Golden Go mode. You also have follow me plus Golden Go to set up and then set up Tailwind. You have the Assault Vest item, which is just broken. So like it just gives a lot of good players so many good tools to work with, and it just allows you to be good if you're a good player. I think that's why Edu did so well and why Toller was able to win a regional with the team, is that if a good player is good, they can pilot this team to great success, and we're probably going to see a couple more of these. But yeah, that team is awesome. There's a Venusaur team here. Let's take a little peep at this one. Okay, Venusaur. We also got Specs Walking Wake. I kind of like this dude. I'll always say that Torkoal is always good because it activates Fluttermane's ability. And to me, that is just enough to make Torkoal good. This is cool because we have a really good Trick Room mode, but we also have this really awesome Sun mode. I actually kind of like this team. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't really love the Venusaur, but I think the Walking Wake plus Fluttermane plus Torkoal core seems kind of neat, and I feel like this is a good take on it, giving you a really good like fast Sun mode, but a Trick Room mode. I really like this team. It's really sick. Again, if you want to check out any of these teams, victoryroad.com. Yeah. This is the Tailwind Glamora team. I think this is a pretty standard-ish team. I believe Kyle Livinghouse used it, but it just gives you a lot of really hyper offensive tools in Tailwind. You have this booster speed Flutter to help even cement the Tailwind mirror even more. You have the Specs Chi-Yu, you got Tailwind, Chi-Yu synergizes with these guys really well, and then you have really awesome physical attackers. Sunny Day is pretty cool, especially with Terra Fire. That's going to do a lot of damage. We've got the I don't know who to credit this team to. It's the team that got second, the Nick fellow. The guy named Nick got second, losing to Wolf. That dude had a sick run with this team. I think this team gives me similar vibes where, like, it's really frustrating to deal with, right? Because you have Tailwind, right? You can set up Tailwind. You can start sweeping with Iron Hands. Blood Moon Ursaluna is pretty fast. You have Ogerpon Fire. You have Urshifu Dark. But then, on a whim, they can just say, oh, I'm leading Fake Out Trick Room. What are you going to do? It just gives you so many options, and I think the team is just absolutely disgusting. I think it's so frustrating to play against, but always in the favor of the Tailwind player, or in the favor of the person using it. So I think it's a very good team, just really obnoxious. I really despise playing against that team. But it's good. It's good at what it does. This team's weird. I guess it's just a lot of setup for these two, and then you have a trick remote with P2. It's neat. It's kind of neat. I kind of like it, but very weird. Not a lot of teams like it. Again, we got this Tailwind team. Edu with his own team, the guy who invented the team, running the team. Let's see if he had anything weird on it. He's got leftovers, Terra Fairy. Yeah, it looks about right. This looks about what you'd expect. I'm a big fan of the Terra Fairy Golden Go. I think it matches up really good into this guy. Just walling it completely. Normally this Pokemon just counters it, but now with this one change alone, you beat it. So like it's really sick because they have to still bring this Pokemon to make you Terra Fairy, but once they Terra Fairy, they do just wall you. It's a really sick tech. Edu obviously is a master of the game and someone, again, 10-4 is no record to slouch at. And then right above him is his own team who did slightly better than him. And then we've got the Ursaluna God himself. There's two brothers who run these Ursaluna teams together. I'm a huge fan of watching them play. They're genuinely so sick, and I love to see what innovations they made. I want to say that they created the 6, but I'm not really sure if Nick also made the same 6 at the same time or what was going on with it. So I don't want to necessarily take away credit from Nick, who got second with the same 6 Pokemon. But yes, once again, these guys are a beast with Ursaluna Blood Moon, and it's no surprise that they are able to pop off here. They usually don't run Follow Me. They hate Follow Me on Ogerpon. They love Urshifu Dark. This team just looks super frustrating to deal with. It looks pretty sick, though. I like it. I mean, obviously 10-4 is a great finish. I'm sure they'll be back for EUIC to help win some more tournaments for Ursaluna, or attempt to win them. Once again, Kyle's team. We've got a hard Trick Room team here. I mean, Psy Spam, it's always there. It always shows up. You cannot escape the Psy Spam. It will always be there. Anything too crazy here? No, not really. It's just like, again, Torkoal can power up the Flutter Mane. It adds like a second element to the team, which I think is pretty cool. I think Wide Guard's actually a pretty good move. Like, I do kind of like the 6 Pokemon here. I'm sure, I mean, it did pretty well. They were 1 win away from potentially cutting, so obviously another good team. Richard was running the... Well, I don't know what to say this team was. It's kind of like the Casty team, but with Incineroar over Arcanine. So it adds a little bit more of a setup element. You got Fake Out. You can just do more disruption with your team. I like it. It just adds more support Pokemon instead of Arcanine, who's usually banned there. Maddie Morgan popping off with Roaring Moon. This is like a Roaring Moon balance type team. It's just set up around Dragon Dancing and setting up. Raging Bolt with support with Snarl. We got the Specs Flutter Mane. I think this team is pretty good. It makes sense that it was able to do as well as it did here. Then we have a Porygon 2 team again. Porygon 2 actually showing up. I would say there's a lot more Porygon 2 than I saw of Giraffes. No, there's still a lot of Giraffes. Who am I kidding? But P2 kind of showing up there, doing pretty good work. Let's see, anything crazy here? I do think Terra Blast Poison P2 is really, really sick. I'm a huge fan of this combo. I think it's so good. I've actually been practicing a lot with Eric Rios' team. I think it's really fun. I'll probably make a video showcasing it because I think it's a sick team. But I think the idea of P2 is awesome. So what you do is you press download, right? You have the download ability. You switch in, you come in, you get the boost, right? And Terra Blast is really sick because it adapts mid, I don't know how to say it, like mid attack. It will Terra Blast if you press Terra. It will change to a physical or a special. So if you get that attack boost, if your attack stat is higher, it'll be now a physical Terra Blast, which is really sick into stuff like Flutter Mane. If they Terra in front of you, you threaten a one-shot. It's pretty saucy. It's pretty good. This Pokemon is just really hard to take down too. There's a lot of Urshifu and Fake Out, but P2 just find a ways to survive. Poison is so good. Again, we haven't really seen a lot of Urshifu Waters either, but yeah, it's just a really, really sick Sick Pokemon. Lots of support for the duck, and then you just have really good Pokemon around it out. I like that team. And then Casty himself with running Will-O-Wisp and Incineroar, but then a lot of the same text that he was running prior. Again, I think it's so stupid. Like 11-3s, I really do think they should just cut at 11-3. Like, why does Casty not get a chance to defend? You know, like potentially try to win the regional at 11-3? I think it's silly. I think all 4 of these players should be able to play. That's just a little side note. All right, we got a little spoiler there. I guess not really a spoiler. Next up, we got Fevzi's team. Fevzi, obviously a fantastic player. We'll break these teams down a little bit more. So Fevzi, I think this team is sick. Instantly when I saw it, I was like, this team is so cool. This Flutter Mane is awesome, right? You have Terra Stellar, which is cool. I think Focus Sash Flutter Mane is sick, right? It's so cool. Flutter Mane is just so hard to KO. And with this Icy Wind Terra Stellar, you're able to just hit huge icy winds to slow down the team. Like if Tornadus isn't needed, you have this Flutter Mane to back you up. But then also if you set up Tailwind, this Flutter Mane can really give you an edge because you can actually just Terra, and then the Icy Wind becomes more powerful. The Shadow Ball becomes more powerful, and the Moonblast. I think that Terra Stellar is really cool here. I would have to test this team out because it does seem kind of neat. But I mean, like the Terra Stellar is just seems, on paper, seems nasty. And obviously it worked out for Fevzi. I don't know how much they were pressing Terra, but it obviously worked out. Terra Poison Black Glasses. I think this is really smart because a lot of the Urshifus right now are running Sash or Band, usually Sash. So like running Black Glasses can really mess with people's calcs, and I think it could be a huge, huge momentum swing in a certain matchup. If they're not ready for the damage of Black Glasses, or it's just like changes the way the matchup's played. Entei hasn't seen a ton of use, so it's cool to see Entei kind of back. Entei's been good, obviously, but I feel like more people have been leaning towards Gouging Fire and Incineroar now. Glamora obviously is just completely saucy. This Pokemon is so cool. You get Meteor Beam, awesome. You get Sludge Bomb for your poison coverage. You get Earth Power. Terra Grass makes this thing like really hard to KO. Toxic Debris is awesome. I think this is just sick. I also like the amount of Protects on the team too, because I think you can really abuse Glamora. Next up, we have Ivy Cudgel Guy, whatever, boring, and then Torn. Again, a little boring, but it makes sense. This team is really cool, though. I'm a huge fan of what Fevzi does with this team, because I think sometimes, like, the big thing is just adding really good, important, and saucy text, and I think Fevzi did just that. We got Black Glasses, we got a whole-ass Entei, this amazing Sash Flutter Mane, and I think it's just enough to put Fevzi ahead of the competition, which allowed him to cut, and is super well-deserved. I'm a huge Fevzi fan. I mean, who isn't, right? Fevzi's awesome. But super sick to see Fevzi in the top 8. Then we've got Eric Rios. This team is so sick. I mean, I'm not even going to play. Scotch Tape cooked with this team. So Scotch Tape, Eric, Alex. Scotch Tape kind of built the team, I suppose. And then Eric and Alex took ideas from it and ran their own version. This team is absolutely sick. I've been playing with it all week, honestly. This is like kind of been my guilty pleasure. I just kind of sit down and play showdown games with this team because it's just fun. I just like setting up Como. I like setting up Trick Room and just sweeping with Como. It's a very cool team. I think right now Como is very good into a lot of the meta. If we look at a lot of the Pokemon outside of Flutter Mane, I mean, okay, in this cut, I see a lot of special attackers, like right here. But outside of Flutter Mane, a lot of the special attackers are pretty weak. It's very, you know? And so Como can actually find itself 1v1ing a lot of teams, just with the Terra Steel and the, the Iron Defense Body Press. It's very good into Wolf's 6 Pokemon that he used to win the regional. It's just a very good call, in my opinion, like Como himself. So I think that Como is sick, and then you pair with Ting Lu, who, again, the special attackers are annoying like Flutter Mane, but this Pokemon just kind of shuts him down. It makes Como a little bit more durable. It makes him a little even more annoying. It's like, hey, the few special attackers that exist, Chi-Yu, Golden Go, Flutter, boom, we got a whole Ting Lu. So I think this team is sick. The specs Golden Go is a little bit of a different change because they did run the Flutter Mane previously, and then you just have all these support Pokemon. It's such a slow-paced, cringe team, but I love playing it. It's honestly so good. Next up is Torviv. Torviv is a legend in the game, a very incredible player, and this team is very similar to the Casty team. Instead, we've got Chi-Yu, but it has that reach with Flutter Mane. It's got that Sucker Punch with their Shifu. It's got that Raging Bolt. I like the set too with Electroweb. Nothing too crazy to write home here. I think Torviv is an exceptional, like, fundamentally good player that I think Torviv will normally run, like, kind of standard-ish teams, but find amazing success with them. So it's no surprise that Torviv is able to pop off with this. I really like this pick for them as a player. I think the team is cool. Nothing too crazy, though. The Chi-Yu is a little bit different, though. Normally, we see a more defensive option, such as Arcanine or Incineroar, but the Chi-Yu adds another element. It's that classic Chi-Yu Flutter, pressing Icy Wind in any move, and you're nuking them. So I like the team from Torviv. Next up is Francesco Pardini. This is the Edu team once again, outplacing Edu. But I think this team is really sick. Like I've mentioned before, I think it lets a good player be good. And Francesco is surprisingly, a good player. So able to run this team and just pop off with this team and just deal mad damage, either setting up Golden Go with the multiple support options or just clicking your attack buttons and going in. I think this team lets a good player be good. I stand by that. And I think this is why this team is so popular and why we've seen it multiple times already. Next up, we've got another Francesco here. Let's see this team. I don't know about this one. Okay, nothing too crazy here. It's kind of wild to see Rillaboom. Rillaboom really has not shown up too great. I mean, okay, Rillaboom popped off there, but we haven't seen a ton of Rillaboom. Actually, wow, wait, holy moly. Holy moly. There was not a single Rillaboom we've seen so far. Either you did horrible with Rillaboom or you did awesome with Rillaboom. Holy crap. I didn't even notice that. So this is our first Rillaboom team. I knew I wasn't crazy that we weren't seeing Rillaboom, but I'm a huge fan of this taunt set. I think it's really nasty. It kind of gives me similar vibes to like James Evans' team, but like it looks like I like the Terra Normal Citrus variant. That's pretty crazy. It looks like it's got this really strong offensive physical core built around this Chien Pao with this Taunt Rillaboom, which I think is awesome. I think Taunt Rillaboom is so good in a giraffe. I'm a huge fan of it right now. But then it's got these two big special attackers to back it up. It just seems like this team is all damaged. There's not really, I would say the most supportive Pokemon is Raging Bolt with Snarl and Electro Web, but that's barely a support Pokemon in this case. I think this is a very aggressive team, and I feel like they were just making hard reads all day and just playing like a god. That's all I can say. Like, there's really no support. I guess this Pokemon's a support. You got a little fake out, but really, this is an all damage team. This is a very interesting team in a good way. I think this Entei is weird, but you're just blasting things with Chien Pao plus these physical attackers. Obviously, it worked out incredibly well. I think Raging Bolt and Fluttermane can help a little bit with that Tailwind problem. You've got the Taunt Rillaboom, which I think is fantastic. I think James Evans ran it last week. I was a huge fan of it. I don't know how much of its success it contributed, but holy moly, I love the Taunt Rillaboom. I think it answers a lot of the meta threats that you see a lot of. I think it popped off and did wonders against Toller, and I think it probably helped James do well, and I like it here. But yeah, this team is just kind of like just all damage. It's a pretty crazy one. Speaking of all damage, we've got our Pow Knight back. I'm a big Pow Knight fan. I'm biased. I love this shit. It's so fun. It's just honestly like it feels so good to just press extreme speed and then just kill something in one shot. I think it makes your opponent respect you, or like have to play to you and try to deal with you. And I like this take on Pow Knight. Like obviously it's very similar to the team I ran, but this is just all damage. There's not. The most supportive Pokemon here is Rillaboom, and number 2 is Chien Pao because of Sword of Ruin. This is an all-damage team, and I'm all here for it. We've got the Surging Striker Shifu guy. We've got Grassy Glide spam. Like, this is priority the team. I'm curious to see, like, I feel like Sergio pulled this out at the perfect moment. The Giraffe usage is still there, and I'm not saying that they can't deal with Giraffe, but Giraffe is annoying. But I think they just have the perfect amount of, Terra Stellar is crazy too, by the way. I'll get to that. But they have the perfect amount of damage that they can probably get through the Giraffe teams just enough, because you got to deal with Dragonite, you got to deal with their Shifu. But then they have what is this, priority on every Pokemon? Oh my gosh. Grassy Glide, Aqua Jet, Extreme Speed, Sucker Punch, Grassy Glide, Thunderclap. It is the 6th priority team in a Farigiraf meta. Sergio, props to you, man. That is crazy to run right now. I'm not even gonna lie. That is a crazy choice to run, and obviously it paid off, because if you're not playing against that kind of stuff, if you're not playing against the Giraffe, you're still doing big damage. I don't know what the Giraffe's usage was at in the tournament, but if you're not playing against a ton of Giraffes, this team just goes hard. And I mean, against Giraffe, again, you have options. You got Outrage. The thing doesn't like taking Outrages. It doesn't like taking Dracos or Ivy Cudgels. So it's not like you can't beat the Giraffe, but wow, 6 priority moves in the Giraffe meta. Whew, I'm a big fan of this team, though. I love Pow Knight. Terra Stellar is pretty interesting. I don't know if I love that, but I think that the typing of Raging Bolt is usually pretty good, and maybe getting that extra damage on a Thunderclap could go really, really big. So I'm not against Terra Stellar. I'd probably run Terra Electric myself, but I like the idea of it. Next up, we've got a Gouging Fire once again. So this is the 2nd place team, famously the team that defeated Eric Rios. But again, so this is built around that Gouging Fire King Gambit. Safety Goggles, Swords Dance, pretty cool. Obviously you got Fault Me, you got Fake Out, you got Howl, right? So you can easily just set up this King Gambit for success, and this team is definitely built around King Gambit success. I like the addition of this Porygon too, though. I'm not gonna lie, it adds a whole other element to the team that I think you have to respect. Obviously, Parasong's neat as well, but obviously this team is really sick because Gouging Fire just sets everything up. But then you have this like really nice Trick Room mode that you can just like opt into because you have Follow Me and Fake Out. So you're like, oh, I'll set up Trick Room this game and sweep with King Gambit that way. It's probably really, really good into the Tailwind teams, especially with Follow Me, especially with this Terra Blast Poison set that I'm really into. And then you've got this Flutter Mane for the big damage. I like the take on this version. I like the take. I think these are some really smart calls. You got Howl spam for the 4 physical attackers. Then you have 2 special attackers to round it out. I like this team a lot. I think this is really smart. I like the safety goggles. That's really respectful of Amoonguss. I feel like most teams don't respect Amoonguss enough. And I think even with that, that's a huge addition that I think sets them apart. And I think they super deserve the 2nd place finish. I think this team is really cool. And then finally, the team that won is the Farigiraf Ursaluna Blood Moon, the killer of priority. Nothing too crazy here. I think this is like, well, normally this would probably be booster speed Flutter, but outside of that, this is like pretty much the standard Farigiraf team. So Florian just able to pop off. I believe this is Florian's like first big finish. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, Florian, but this team is just like really bread and butter. It lets a good player be good, right? It's pretty similar to what I was talking about earlier with the Edu team, but instead you're rocking a Trick Room mode, right? You've got Fake Out Trick Room, you've got Follow Me Trick Room, you have Instant plus Urshifu, you've got Flutter Mane, Ogre Pond Water, Ursaluna Blood Moon. Like, you have the good stuff. It just has a Trick Room mode to it. So I think this is a team that let Nick be really, really good as a player. Moving forward, I don't know what to think. I think a lot of the teams have really jockeyed for control of the meta. The Ursaluna Blood Moon is still performing. It's still winning regionals, right? It's still really that good. I think this is one of the first times we didn't see Wolf's team popping off. But again, I think Wolf's team is still very good. But we're also seeing a lot of this Torn, Golden Ghost stuff. There's still a lot of Torn. We're starting to see a little bit of different teams rise up. We've seen this Porygon 2. Porygon 2 is starting to pop off, boys. Porygon 2 is starting to pop off. Let's scroll down to those usage stats and check out the day 1. So day 1, we're rocking with, let's see here. With Flutter Mane at the most used Pokemon, with Ogre Pond Water second. I think that's valid. I think that the meta is definitely like, Flutter Mane is just like, I don't want to say it's essential to a team, but it really does help the team a lot. I think Ogre Pond Water just shuts down the Urshifu Rapid Strike really hard. It's really good into Incineroar. It's good. Like, Follow Me is just useful all around, right? Like, no matter what, Follow Me is a useful move. And then Incineroar. These are the 3 gods. If you haven't seen my tier list, check it out. But these are my 3 best Pokemon. I think it's very clear that they're the strongest Pokemon. And then after that, it does get a little bit shaky. I think the Pokemon really do change depending on what the team is. But I think these 3 are just like, they're Swiss Army knives, right? They can be used in a variety of situations. They can be used on so many teams. So it's not surprising that we see the 3 gods here. I think there are 3 really good Pokemon. Flutter Mane for the damage, and these 2 for the utility / typing, and just meshing the team together, having Follow Me, having Fake Out. Urshifu Rapid Strike is awesome. Or Single Strike, sorry. Single Strike is just popping off right now. With this one being so popular, 50% of the teams having it. Rapid Strike feels a little bit weaker because this Pokemon can just hit through it. It's still deadly. It's still nuts. Tornadus providing that speed control. Farigiraf is still being used quite a bit. 20% is pretty crazy for a Trick Room Pokemon. It's really just like, what, choose your poison. Like, it just kind of seems like 50% of the field either has Trick Room or Tailwind, and then the other 50% is running like some balance, like kind of speed control, right? Or hey, maybe they have P2. That's their speed control. But yeah, the meta is definitely like, it feels like pretty solid right now. Obviously, we have a lot of time before the next tournament. Going to EUIC, we'll have to see how it's going to change because I expect a huge change moving forward. Then, of course, we have the day 2 switch, which is pretty crazy. That Flutter Mane is actually below 50% and below 2 other Pokemon. Now, Ogre Pond Water has been kind of the queen lately. It's taking over. It's popping off. But it is crazy that Urshifu Single Strike overpassed Flutter Mane. I think it's very clear that Single Strike is the better version right now, and it's just the more comfortable and confident, like, people are more comfortable and confident in this Pokemon than they are with the water one. Just because, again, if you're in day 2, 60% of the time, one of your opponent's Pokemon just completely is immune and can press Follow Me to Urshifu, and it just really messes with Urshifu's momentum in a game, because if you just get the turn wrong and you blow Asserting Strikes, if you're actually choice locked, it feels horrible. I do think Urshifu Water is still fantastic, still amazing Pokemon, and I expect to see Urshifu Water still be a good Pokemon, but right now, again, it's pretty weak. Incineroar is actually below them, but I guess, again, like, the Unseen Fist is broken, Urshifu's broken. 40% Raging Bolt is pretty crazy. Raging Bolt rising up is pretty wild. It definitely seems like this team was one of the more popular teams in Day 2 at this tournament, and these Pokemon really popped off, because this is literally, like, outside of Golden Go, you put Golden Go over Flutter, and that's like the team, right? So this team is obviously doing really well. And then Torn just rounding everything out a lot of the time. Amoonguss rising in usage, honestly, because Amoonguss at 21, it went up a little bit. It popped up a slot. Rillaboom dropped a little. Rillaboom is just kind of a loser right now. It's not winning the tournaments. I feel like people just run Rillaboom because they like him. I mean, I think he's a good Pokemon. He obviously did well. He almost won the tournament. But it just feels like Rillaboom is just like a really fair Pokemon almost. Golden Go also definitely being like, I don't want to say flavor of the week. I think Golden Go finally found its footing, and I think Golden Go has been good for most of the time, but it's finally rising up to the top again, and people are confident in running Golden Go. But this is Golden Go tournament, right? Golden Go not even on here, and a lot of the teams who use Golden Go did really, really well. Frograph showing up still, and then this guy being good. It's like, if you're not using the water one, you got the fire one, right? Like, Ogerpon just seems like a necessary evil. I'd be curious to see the other two Ogerpons if they rounded it out. But yeah, again, this is like almost 80% of the players in Day 2 had the DLC Ogerpon. Pokemon has truly paid to win right now. But yeah, going forward, I think the teams that are good are, I know I kind of touched on this earlier, but it just kind of seems like you have to respect Ursaluna Blood Moon. You have to respect this Tailwind team. And then it's just kind of a crazy. Then I think the Howl Entei stuff is really, or how Gouging Fire. Thank God I hovered over that. I forgot his name for a second. But the Gouging Fire stuff seems to be like a close third. Very good team. And then I would say this like balanced team that Casty has been rocking with has been like the number 3 or 4 team. And then after that, it's just kind of like whatever people like. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Personally, I gotta say my favorite team is Eric Rio's team. I'll give the Battle Room Award to Eric Rio's team. That team is so fun. It's cool to see Eric go so far with it too. 12-2 is no joke. Obviously not the finish they were looking for, but a great finish nonetheless. But yeah, I think this tournament was really interesting to watch. I watched a couple of the games. I think the teams are about what you expect right now. We'll have to see where the meta goes from here. Can't believe Ursaluna Blood Moon won, though. I do gotta say, I didn't expect the Ursaluna Blood Moon dub once again, but it is what it is. That Pokemon is absolutely insane. Well, anyways, guys, that's all I got today. We talked about the teams. We figured it out. Let me know what you guys thought. Do you agree, disagree? What's your favorite team from the tournament? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you guys later. Have a good day.